Only you can prevent forest fires.
Firewatch is one of those games where it intentionally doesn't do what it says on the tin. I mean, there's fire, and you do at one point watch it, but that's certainly not the exclusive premise of the game. It is, however, what many call a walkabout game. Henry is some dude who lives in Boulder, Colorado. He meets a girl called Julie in a bar one night and a cliche happens. They get a dog, they get married, Julie gets early onset dementia, a real Disney tale. Really sets up a nice happy tone for the rest of the game. But in all seriousness, the dark premise of the game formulates the whole reason Henry, affectionately named Hank by his Firewatch boss and full-length dialogue partner Delilah, is found in Wyoming in the first place. To endure the torment of his wife's terminal and debilitating disease, Henry takes a job in the summer as a part of the Wyoming National Park Rangers, while his wife is nursed by her parents back in Melbourne. The idea is conveyed as Henry using the job as an escape, a getaway from the thoughts and worries of the world, a place where he doesn't have to confront his very real problems. From here, the game takes a rather strange and creepy turn. For the sake of spoilers, I won't divulge any poignant plot points, but the bright mood for the casuality of the surroundings Henry finds himself in takes a rather clashing turn for the worst. At first, I believed the game was simply a look at the pretty graphics, we have them pretty graphics sort of game, but slowly it begins to turn into some sort of thriller novel. Naturally, paranoid people will perhaps be put off by this, although it does make the entire mechanic of the game, one devoid of challenge or threat, a tad more interesting. In terms of the aforementioned look at the pretty graphics, we have them pretty graphics, visual snobs will not be too enthused by the developers' use of a rather cartoony style. They seem to have emulated Team Fortress 2 almost, with Henry's disturbingly rotund fingers reminding us that even though you possess sausages for digits, you've still got a shot at playing the guitar. Aesthetically, the game is very pleasing. In fact, that's the sole reason I decided to pre-order this game without much knowledge of it, I'm ashamed to admit. That and the fact it's set in Wyoming, a state famous for being incredibly square in geography and culture. But the graphics are gorgeous. Everything feels big and wide and expansive. It reminds me of the Honest Hearts DLC from Fallout New Vegas. The shades of orange of the rocks and the canyons, the golden shimmer of the light breaking through the thinly veiled forests, accompanied by wondrously skillful sound design, and it proves that Firewatch is one game you'd wish to slowly plod about in, picking up old equipment and uncovering the truth within the rustic hills and valleys. That being said, the game does have some flaws. It's short but sweet, a phrase I honestly can't abide, but it's true. The pacing was fair, the story carried itself very well, and the dialogue between Henry and Delilah is endearing.
It doesn't seem that dangerous. Whoa, whoa! Oh, no!
Henry!
Seriously, it's completely fine in here.
God damn it.
To juxtapose the quite linear pathing of the game, you're given more freedom in the dialogue choices that I assume change the outcome of some scenes and events, but it's not a major point to consider. The voice acting, however, is incredible. Some of the best I've ever heard in a game. It's believable, executed brilliantly, and so visceral. Although the game has a soundtrack edition, I found the music was borderline acceptable more than additive. It does its job, but nothing was particularly memorable about any of the tracks. Not that I would expect such from a game from this specific genre. Furthermore, the ending is a tad anticlimactic. Although it came as a surprise, it felt like a downgrade from the grandiose ideas and spiralling character development we were being given. All the fear and the paranoia being built up over time was dropped for something that almost seemed like a cop-out. It wasn't terrible by any means, it was just disappointing. Many deeper themes of human relationships, fear and depression are explored in Firewatch in such a light and shallow way that it avoids bringing down the emotions of its audience. It gives us a taste of some darkened ideas but sidetracks away from them as to not alienate those simply looking to enjoy the scenery. It's a mix between keeping things interesting and keeping things nice and light. It's a design choice that I stand behind. Ironically, Firewatch works around the escape theme so well that the game itself is an escape. A little treat for a few hours to take in a novel story and a stunningly presented world without too much obligation. A short, enjoyable, and overall excellently put together ride. You will like this game if you like Dear Esther, Escapes, and Sausage Fingers. Firewatch receives an Indie Bin recommendation.
Hello? I bless the rains down in Africa!